Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter show, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we're going to talk about it right here. My name is Eric Lorda. I'm here with my co-host, Joe Habib. We got a great show for you today. And if you want to call in, 323-870-3857. And let's get started. Let's start on Thursday, Beeb. This was a crazy, crazy card. And I don't even want to talk about the card first. I want to talk about the actual card, the timing of this card. So I believe it actually started at 5:40 or something like that, or 5:30, like prelims and stuff like that. You can get on like ESPN Plus and all that other good stuff on a Thursday night. So you figure that main event is going to go off, I don't know, maybe 10 o'clock, right? Maybe 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. Maybe. This thing, it was like midnight before it was all over. You know what I mean? I mean, on a Thursday, come on, guys. I mean, why would you put this together on a Thursday? Why not the Friday? Why not? I don't understand. That just blows my mind. And if you're going to put it on a weekday, why on earth are you putting a fight on till midnight on a weekday? Who's going to be up for that?
I can't even tell you the amount of people who told me they fell asleep even before the fight started. Then some people woke up and they fell right back asleep during the fight. So it was just a nightmare. It was a nightmare on all fronts.
Well, I would have been mad if I fell asleep before the fight and then had to stay up and I couldn't go to sleep because I'm watching the fight. You know, it's like, my God. I don't think you would have had much trouble going to sleep for that fight, though. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. It was just not good, man. The whole for me, the whole card. I mean, as far as like the timing of it and everything like that, we had some pretty good fights on the undercard, but let's talk about that main event. Let's get that out of the way, all right? Because I kind of have to. Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin De Los Santos. Shakur Stevenson wins a unanimous decision over Edwin De Los Santos, 116-112 twice and 115-113. This was like a tactical fight with both guys, man. I don't know if it was just a bad style matchup. Both guys are fairly slick fighters, but I can definitely give De Los Santos a pass here, man, because Shakur is the top guy. He's the one trying to be the next big thing. And I tell you, you know, if I'm looking at this fight, you know, when I was watching it, I had watched it after the fact, after everybody had talked about it. And I watched like the first 3 rounds, man, and I'm like, this isn't a bad fight. It's real tactical, but it's not a bad fight. Both guys are in there. They're trying to get, it's, you know, nip and tuck. They're trying to get in and get out. Not get hit. I get it. But it even devolved from there to just throwing almost like one shot, almost like they were fighting bare knuckle or something, where they were afraid to throw shots because afraid of what was coming back. I don't understand. Like I said, man, that was just a bad fight. It was and I understand not wanting to get hit. You know, I'm a defensive guy. I don't like to get hit either. But at some point, it's like we were talking about earlier, like you said, what Sugar Ray says, at some point, you're going to have to knuckle up and you're going to have to bite down and you're going to have to throw some leather. In every fight, it's like that. You got to hold your ground, right? That's it, man. And I think that the problem with Shakur, again, they're trying to make him the next big thing. They're trying to see if he is the next big thing.
He's not.
He's got all the talent in the world. He's got all the talent in the world. And I think that he's close to his contract with Top Rank. And I'll tell you right now, it would not surprise me if Top Rank let him go.
Yeah.
Would not. He's just the kind of fighter. He's not the kind of fighter that people want to see. There's nothing spectacular about this guy. I mean, there's not. He's fast. He's mobile. But again, I said before the show, he reminds me a lot of Rigondeaux. But Rigondeaux, like you said, had some pop. I've never seen Shakur. Shakur's got to bite down and start hitting. You know, because as fast as he is, he's going to have some power behind it. He knows how to throw a shot. Sit him down. You're not in the amateurs anymore. You're not point fighting, but that's what he's doing. And he's successful because
it's a mental thing. I mean, let me just say this. I've never been one to insult a fighter. I would never call a fighter names. It takes a great deal of courage to get in that ring and fight. So I've said this 1,000 times on here to you and to everyone listening. I don't compare these guys to the average human being because these guys are not average.
No.
I compare them to their peers and their contemporaries.
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't know, nobody likes to get hit. No fighter likes to get hit. But some fighters appear to be overly concerned with it. And he's one of those fighters that appears to be overly concerned with it. Now, everybody has that fight or flight mechanism in them, fighters included. Every time he gets put in a situation where he's called upon and that fight or flight mechanism is switched on, right? And he has to revert to that fight or flight mechanism, it always goes to flight. Every time he's in there with a guy who can punch a bit, every time he's in there with a guy who, in this case, Dos Santos got some pretty decent foot speed. So he had a hard time. You know, he knew that I have to move because this guy could trap me up against the ropes. He could trap me in a corner. So he was literally at some points in this fight turning and jogging and trotting away from him. Okay. And then when Dos Santos did get close, he was grabbing him, and he wasn't grabbing him in an attempt to clinch fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't grabbing him in an attempt to clinch fight. He was grabbing him and looking over to the referee saying, hey, man, can you throw me a lifeline here? Right? He fought like a guy. He fought very, very, I hate saying this, he fought timid. He was playing a game of tag in there. He did not throw one punch with bad intentions. He did not bend his knees. He wasn't even turning over these shots. Now, maybe he was injured. Maybe there were things going on. But before the fight, he sure as hell was talking a lot of trash. Before the fight, he was taking a lot of pictures in the dressing room with everybody. He was cheesing it up. He was in a really good mood. Now, I know Mark Kriegel was running a lot of interference for the guy. He was caping for him like he was a PR guy for the guy, saying, oh, when I was interviewing him, I saw a bruise on his hand. I mean, how many times did Floyd go into fights with his hands messed up, whatever? You know, we've seen fighters, no one's 100%. But the way he was acting, saying he was gonna, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. I'm gonna kick the crap out of you. You know, this guy's been on Twitter for the last 8 months, always going at fighters. He went at Kambosos when he had that rough fight with Max Hughes. He went at Devin when he had the tough fight with Lomachenko, right? He went at Ryan Garcia when Ryan Garcia got knocked out by Tank. He's the first guy to shit on everybody when they have a bad performance. And then now all of a sudden, oh, I had a bad night. Y'all don't like how I fight, then don't watch. Guess what? I may not. And a lot of people may follow me too, right?
That's true. That's very true.
So this is what you have to ask yourself. Okay, maybe this was an off night. Maybe he was injured. But there's still a pattern of behavior. You and I have been talking about this ever since this guy turned pro. When we saw him fight, we would say, doesn't seem to like really want to engage, doesn't want to turn shots over, doesn't bend at the knees. He's not throwing punches. He literally, in certain fights, you go back to the Joet Gonzalez fight. You go back to the Nakatilia fight. Yeah. He literally was very, very overcautious, very tentative, and dare I even say timid, right? So when push comes to shove, I think this what we saw on Thursday is what we're going to see every time this guy's forced to face adversity. You can say what you want about Devin Haney, but he bit down in that Lomachenko fight. He bit down in that Lomachenko fight. He bit down after being hurt by Linares, right?
Yeah.
You know, we've seen guys, even Tank had problems with Barrios early on. He was getting tagged.
Yeah.
He bit down, got him out of there. He was having problems with
Isaac Cruz.
Isaac Cruz, thank you. He bit down and switched it on when he had to. This guy doesn't switch it on. He retreats. He reverts to what he knows. What's inside him is It's like when you see like a small guy running up to a big guy in the street, slapping him real quick, and then running away from him because he doesn't want to deal with the return fire.
Sure.
This guy literally plays tag in there. Tag, you're it, and then he darts away from you, right? So a lot of people had this fight close. I had it 8-4. Some people had it 7-5. He nicked this fight. He nicked this fight.
Oh yeah.
The amount of punches this was the lowest amount of punches thrown in a fight ever recorded on BoxRec. He threw and landed less shots than Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou did in their fight. And that's 10 rounds of heavyweights.
Yeah.
He threw and landed, these guys threw and landed less punches, right? Than when Fury and Klitschko fought, when people were complaining about that fight on punches landed. Like, these are lightweights, right? These are lightweights. So I agree with you. I mean, the Top Rank's paying this guy $3 million a fight. I don't think he's ever going to be.
No way they're recouping that.
I don't think he's ever going to be a pay-per-view star. And once again, when he's in there with a guy like Tank, who's got foot speed, got hand speed, and got power, he's in there with a guy like Devin Haney, who's big, who's physically strong, right? Who will get in the clinches with you, and he'll try to manhandle you and get physical, right? When he's in there with a guy like that, who's quick, got quick feet and quick hands, right? And he's forced to have to go to a plan B. What is that plan B going to be? Is it going to be what we saw against Dos Santos? Is it going to be what we saw against Joet Gonzalez? Is it going to be what we saw against Nakatilia? Well, guess what? If we're following the pattern, I would say that probably is going to be the case.
You know, I mean, you got this guy here who's got, like I said, all the talent in the world, but again, he doesn't want to fight. You know what I mean? He just doesn't want to fight. And you could look at Floyd, all right, and see when he made that change into being a hit and not get hit fighter versus that guy that just swarmed you and got you out of there and still didn't get hit, But he had hand problems. He's got legit hand problems. So after this fight, they said that Shakur had an injury. He had a shoulder injury. He had this. He has that. Listen, we haven't heard anything. I mean, Floyd's were documented. He broken hands and brittle hands and everything like that. He would always use those winning gloves, those Japanese gloves or whatever that were softer and easy on your hands versus like the Reyes gloves and stuff. And I mean, he had documented hand problems. This guy, I don't know if he doesn't punch hard. I think how he doesn't punch hard is beyond me. As fast as he is and everything like that, but he could just be throwing arm punches. I don't know.
You're taught to throw a punch, right? When you look at the hand, right?
Yeah.
This part of the knuckle is supposed to land.
It's like the first three. The first two.
First two
is where it goes.
So when you look at a predator in nature, right? They have what's called the canines, those two teeth. That's what causes the damage. In a human being, this is our canines. This is what's meant to cause damage. And in order to activate these when you're throwing a punch, guess what you have to do? You have to turn. When you're throwing it overhand, you got to turn. If you're going like this, your hand's loose and you're going like this, guess what? You're not activating these first two knuckles in an attempt to cause damage and land a scoring, clean, hard blow. Okay? He eked that fight out. Some people thought he lost. Some people had him winning by 2.
Yeah.
I had it 8-4. I almost could have had it 7-5. That was a bad performance. It's a very bad performance.
Yeah. And I think, I would like to see him fight like say a Ryan Garcia or somebody like that, somebody along those lines. He's got to have, you got to put him in a fight. In fairness, he didn't pick this guy. He didn't pick this guy to fight. They picked him because he was the only one willing to fight. Whether you want to say it was contracts, whether you want to say it was scheduling, whatever, that was the only guy. He was the only guy really willing to fight at that point.
And then he wants to like again, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Everyone's afraid of me. is everyone afraid of you, or do they just don't want to play a game of tag? They want to fight, and they know if they get in there with you, they're going to play a game of tag, right?
Well,
They're
listen,
going to
I
play a game
mean,
of tag.
but let's be realistic here. I mean, listen, that's not a beating Shakur is not a cakewalk. It's not a cakewalk. And if I'm a promoter or manager, I'm going to think twice before I put my guy in there with him, because there's a couple things. He's going to be the house fighter. That's number one. You're going to have a tough time winning a decision against him just because of the way he fights. But if I'm a manager, I'm not putting my guy in there with him. Not unless the money's there,
Can I counter you a little bit on that?
Sure.
I don't think he's the A side against Lomachenko. I don't think he's the A side against Devin Haney, and I don't think he's the A side against Tank Davis. You know what? One thing though, all those guys have in common, they're very quick on their feet. And if you don't have a punch to keep these guys off you, you're going to have a hard time dealing with their foot speed. So you have to have some type of weapon to get your respect.
Yes.
And he has not shown that against anyone that causes and brings a bit of threat and adversity to him. His first instinct is to retreat, tag like the little kid on the street, running up to the big guy, hitting him quick. And before the big guy can even turn around and counter, he's out the door and he's looking for the escape route. That's the mentality this guy has. Oh, I'm from Brick City. I'm a street dude. I'm a gangster. You know what I'm saying?
Gangster.
You're a gangster when you punch that woman in the face during the street fight, and then you threw her on the ground. That was really tough when you did that. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna unload on this guy, man, because I have a pet peeve. I don't like when people act like they're not. I don't like when people act like something they're not. Be what you advertise. If you're not going to be as advertised, then don't put up that fake gangster tough guy front. I'll be honest, man.
But realistically, though, Beeb, I mean, think about it though for a minute. What else has he got? What else does he have? You're talking about. I mean, especially in this day and age of marketing, when I mean, really, you've got to have some eyes to come see you. So what else is he going to do? Of course, he's got to talk trash.
It ain't working though, because people he ain't been on pay-per-view yet, and I don't think he's anywhere near close to being on pay-per-view after that.
I'm real curious to see what the ratings for ESPN were. I really am really curious, and to see what the ratings are at the start of the fight and then at the end of the fight.
Yeah,
at the start of the Stevens fight.
As much as I don't like Gervonta Davis, I'm gonna be honest with you. That dude's got the dog in him. Like push comes to shove. Push comes to shove.
Sure.
Push comes to shove. That guy is about it.
He's going to fight. He's going to fight. There's no question.
He's about that life, man. This guy ain't about that life.
Oh, that's cold-blooded. Pocket, thank you so much. He said, I love Shakur. He has never experienced adversity, yet he's scared. Haney and Tank have been physically rocked. Shakur didn't make him pay. There you go. Well, he's, like you said, man, he hasn't experienced it. He's still a young fighter. But he's a titleist now, right? That fight was for some kind of vacant title, I guess, or something like that.
He's a champion in 3 weight classes.
He is, isn't he? That's right, he is.
126, 130, 135, man.
Oh, come on, man.
Go figure, man.
Stop it. Wow.
That's what it's about.
Even Adrian Bronner thinks that's over the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Name one memorable fight this guy's been in where you can.
Obviously, you can't.
You can say what you want about Devin Haney.
What's his best opponent?
Oscar Valdez?
Yeah, Oscar Valdez was probably his best opponent. Yeah,
and I love Oscar Valdez, but again,
he dominated that fight, though.
I love Oscar Valdez, but again, look what Navarrete just did to him. He's not very fleet of foot.
No.
So if he's in there with a guy who's slower than him, or if someone doesn't have a lot of power, now the Valdez can crack a bit, right? But he doesn't have the foot speed to capitalize on his power, right? So that's a different story. Like Tank, what is he going to do when he's in there with Tank? Because if you can't hurt Tank and Tank comes forward on you, or you try to come in on Tank with that pity pat shit, he ain't gonna have that.
Yeah.
You think that pity pat shit's gonna work against Tank? I don't think so.
Hamed said he's a title holder, not the champion. Where have we heard that before, Beeb? We've heard that before somewhere, haven't we?
We've had our battles about that before, man.
Hey, listen, if he's holding the title, he can call himself whatever he wants, man.
Whatever he wants.
Whatever he wants.
I'm not. People can use whatever verbiage they want. I'm not going to argue with it.
That's right. That's right. Let's talk about the undercard, though. That was a complete opposite of the main event here. Emmanuel Navarrete versus Robson Conceicao. This fight was the fight of the night, fight of the weekend. Listen, man, Beeb and I told you last week. Beeb, I remember we said this. We said that Conceicao was a live dog. I said, Conceicao, I said, that's a good fight. Yeah. I said, that's an Olympian. That's an Olympic fighter. That's a good fight, man.
Styles make fights, bro. Styles make fights. Conceicao is a really crafty counterpuncher.
Yeah.
Really slick, really good at gauging distance. Knows how to
schooled.
Punch. Yeah, knows how to punch with you. Schooled. And I knew Navarrete was going to open up with wide shots. And I had a feeling that Conceicao could thread the needle and get inside some of those wide shots. And he did. And he definitely did. And it was hilarious listening to Bradley throughout this whole fight, telling everyone, oh, this is over. It's over. It's over. It's going to be over. Conceicao is he's not going to be able to last. He's not going to be able to last. He's not going to be able to last. It's like, Bradley, like, let the fucking fight play out. Like, stop with this, oh, it's over shit. It's like he was driving, like, Bradley was horrible. Like, this was one of Bradley's worst performances behind the mic, man. He was just really
How
bad.
Do you rank his performances behind the mic? I think they're all bad. I never liked this guy. I never liked Tim Bradley. I always think he's not.
I like him as a person.
He's just nonsense.
He's a horrible commentator.
I don't know him well enough to like him as a person, so I don't care. You know, I mean, he's a horrible commentator.
Yeah, he's really
him
bad.
And Sergio Mora. Put those two guys out in Australia somewhere announcing fights. I don't know, or put them on a local card somewhere because they both suck. I'll tell you what, they're awful. Both of them. Awful. So this fight, man, I'll tell you what, 114, 112 for Navarrete and 113, 113 even calls it a draw. Conceicao was knocked down in the 4th round. The 7th round, he was wobbled again in the 11th round and still pulled off the draw. Listen,
coming back. He kept coming back, bro.
I hate rematches. You know I hate rematches, right?
You do.
This one deserves it, man. He deserves it. And listen, no matter who you think won the fight, we got to do this one again.
Got to do it again.
Because you got to do it again. Got to put Shakur on the undercard this time.
I thought Conceicao won 8 rounds to 4. So I had him winning 114 and 112. But
yeah, because then you got the knockdowns and everything to add up in there and everything.
So I don't hate the draw, but I kind of felt for Conceicao because this like 3rd time was a charm, you know. And I was right. I just felt bad for the guy, but
hey, he's a good fighter, man.
You got to give Navarrete credit too, man, because it could have, a lot of fighters could have gotten frustrated and kind of wavered a bit, but he stayed the course.
Knocked down twice, and he was wobbled again in the 11th and then won the 12th.
You know what? I'm gonna have to. And the thing is this: Navarrete made that fight competitive, not. And again, he's a skilled fighter. Don't get me wrong. He's very unorthodox. But once again, Eric, we talk about this. When fight or flight kicks in and the adversity is there, he won this fight on this fight was a draw, excuse me. And he bailed himself out basically on sheer will and determination, right? And that's what you have to have at this level to be a great fighter. Now, what would Shakur have done in this situation? Would he have gotten on his bicycle? That's the question. This was the direct opposite of what we saw in the main event. That's what it was.
Yeah. Dale, I think it was, let's see here. Dale in Chi-Town says it was 114, 112 for Conceicao. It wasn't. It was 114, 112 for Navarrete. I just looked it back up. Yeah. So, Let's talk about the zone here. Diego Pacheco, Marcelo Caceres. Pacheco knocks out Caceres in the 9th round. Pacheco dominated this fight. The end came with an uppercut in the toward the end, about 20 seconds into the 9th, or 20 seconds before the 9th round ended. Man, he just popped him with an uppercut. That was a time. What's that? It looked like a right uppercut to me, man. Just based on the angle, looked like a right uppercut to me.
Yeah, it was right uppercut.
I tell you what, man, he went down and you could tell he didn't want to get up. He just stared at the referee. He was able to get up. He just stared at the referee, let him count, and that was game over. And you know what? I can't blame him for that, man. He lost every round. He wasn't winning. I mean, he was giving him resistance, but it wasn't like, he wasn't winning the fight. So in a shocker, Jonathan Rodriguez knocked out Cal Yafai in the first round.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. First round, he just got bowled over, son. His career, man, I tell you what, I don't know. Oh, Dale's score was 114, 112.
Yeah, that's what mine was. Mine was the same exact score.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's talk about the upcoming fights here. Let's see what we got. You pay for this, Beeb. I want you to know you pay for this. November 25th, I believe that's Saturday, on DAZN. Chantel Cameron versus Katie Taylor, 10 rounds for Cameron's undisputed women's junior welterweight championship. Yeah, you pay for that. The undercard, the co-main right there was Patty Donovan versus Danny Ball, 10 rounds welterweights. Yeah, okay. That's yeah. All right, man. The main event, November 25th. Showtime pay-per-view. That'll be the last Showtime pay-per-view ever, or at least for the foreseeable future. And it's a pretty good one, man. I got to be honest. It's not bad. Not a bad one. David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade. 12 rounds for Benavidez' WBC interim super middleweight title. Whatever that means. Why interim? For what? For what? What do you need an interim title for? You got a champion. What? I don't understand.
I have no idea. I mean, Canelo's been active. He's been fighting. I mean, he's probably one of the most active fighters in boxing, right? But you need an interim title.
You need an interim for what?
For a title that he holds.
Right. You know why you need an interim title? You know why you need an interim title? To sell pay-per-view. That's why you need an interim title.
And you want a sanctioning fee too.
Yeah. You're sanctioning fee.
Never let a sanctioning fee go to waste, bro. You got to never let a sanctioning fee go to waste.
Yeah, right. Jamal Charlo versus Jose Benavidez Jr., 10 rounds middleweights. That's a good fight. That's a solid fight. I think that Benavidez maybe going up a little far. I don't know. But listen, Jamal Charlo hasn't fought in what, 2 years? This ain't a cakewalk for him.
I think he's fought once at 160 already. He didn't look too bad, but and plus he's like 5'10", 5'11" himself. He's a pretty tall dude himself. So, but yeah, he's fought most of his career at lighter weight classes, but we'll see, man. I mean, this guy Charlo's been off for a while. Who knows where his head's at?
When was the last time Benavidez fought? 2021. It's been over 2 years. It's been over 2 years since Charlo fought. His last fight, June 19th of 2021 against Montiel.
Yeah.
We see Benavidez last fought. Yeah. It was August.
Yeah, he didn't fight too long ago. He was on a PBC.
Yeah, he fought in August. Yeah. I tell you, man, that could be but he's a super 150. Yeah. Wow, yeah, he's moving up. I mean, but his last fight was at 160.
Yeah. Like I said, he didn't look bad in his last fight. He looked okay. Yeah,
not too bad. I like it. I like that fight though. Subriel Matias versus Shojan Ergashev. 12 rounds for Matias's IBF junior welterweight title. That's a good fight. That's another good fight. That's a good card. So overall, Beeb, do you buy this card? Do you recommend you buy the card?
Do you buy it? It's already bought and paid for, baby. You know the auto pay is set for that.
The auto pay. It just automatically goes on.
It's automatically set to purchase. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm definitely buying that one. I think it's a good card, man.
I'm definitely buying this one too. I think it's a really good card.
I don't have a problem with it.
Good fights on it. Should it be a pay-per-view? I don't know. But it's definitely a solid pay-per-view card. I'll say that. Solid
It's like
pay-per-view
it's
card.
like by today's standards, it is a good pay-per-view card by today's.
Right, and by today's standard, right. Yeah, you got King Vision and everything coming back on the pay-per-view. You get Don King's pay-per-views, which are awful anymore.
Oh, sad.
Unwatchable, man. They're just unwatchable. How does this fight play out, Beeb? How does this fight play out?
I'll be honest with you. A lot of people think that Andre's got a shot here. I just don't think he does. I think he fights a very slow-paced fight. He likes to fight on the outside. He has a wide stance, and sometimes his balance is off. Looks uncomfortable. No one likes to get pushed back, but Andrade, a lot of times when he's getting pushed back, he gets knocked off balance a little bit, and it takes him a little bit of time to get back and reset into an offensive position. Whereas the thing I love about David Benavidez is his transitioning from defense to offense to defense. I've talked about this several times. I think his defense and offense work hand in hand, and I think his defense is very underrated. I love the fact that he has that high guard, keeps his hands out front of his face like this, and he's really good at parrying shots, catching and shooting while he's coming forward and applying pressure. And he's got a very heavy-handed jab. So a guy like Andrade is going to, I think, have a hard time with that pressure and him catching the shots and him firing right back after catching those shots and that constant pressure. I think that's going to be a problem for Andrade. And Andrade's got a little bit of pop, but I don't know if he's got enough pop, and I don't think he's going to get through and hit David Benavidez cleanly enough, because as I've said before, David Benavidez's defense is very underrated. And does Andrade have one-punch knockout power? No, right? So I think he's outgunned here. I think David Benavidez is bigger, physically stronger. He's going to be much bigger on the night. I think the pace, the pressure, and I just think the overall relentlessness of David Benavidez is going to be too much for Demetrius Andrade. I really do. And he's getting older, Demetrius Andrade, and a lot of people say he moves, he's good on his feet, but he doesn't move a lot. He's kind of slowed down a bit. He's trying to hold his ground a little bit, but yeah, he's never been in there with a guy like David Benavidez. And you could argue that Caleb Plant is just as good as Andrade, if not better than Andrade. And we saw what David Benavidez did to a guy like that. A guy like Caleb Plant, who's a very quick-footed guy himself. He's a guy who brings a lot of volume, and he was only able to land like 14% of his shots in that fight. Like, he was outgunned that whole fight. And people want to say, oh yeah, well, David Benavidez didn't throw a lot of punches in the first 6 rounds, and Caleb Plant, was more active. But even in those first 6 rounds, David Benavidez still landed more shots, even though he threw less, excuse me. So
that was a good fight. And
I thought that was an excellent performance from him. And,
I thought so too.
And I challenge anyone to tell me how Demetrius Andrade could do much better than Caleb Plant. I mean, is Demetrius Andrade a better fighter than Caleb Plant?
Yes.
I don't know.
Absolutely he is.
You think he is? All right.
I think he is. I think he's a better all-around fighter. And I think he's a better all-around fighter than David Benavidez as well. However, the problem I have with this fight is I do think that Andrade is a better fighter, better technically than David Benavidez. Problem is, David Benavidez is a monster who comes straight forward. He reminds me a lot of, we talked about this too, about Chavez, where he just comes through and he rains punches and he doesn't stop. It's like a constant force. Yeah. It's just like a constant storm coming at you all the time. I think this fight is going to be competitive for a while. I think that Andrade is going to get do his best work in the first 8 rounds. And then I think that those shots are going to start to add up. The body shots, everything like that start to add up. I think that David Benavidez wins a decision. I don't think he knocks him out. I don't think he comes close. I just think that the size difference here is going to be what's going to settle the day here. I really do. I think that size difference that Benavidez has is going to be the difference. It's going to be a big guy, good little guy, and I think that's going to be the way it's going to go down. That's just my theory on it.
I think that Demetrius Andrade is going to suffer his first stoppage loss against David Benavidez.
You love David Benavidez. I mean, he is one of your favorite fighters, and you've said this for a long time.
I like his style. I'm sold on this.
For a long time.
I have one concern. I have one concern about the guy. He's 20. I think he's 25, 26 years old. I have one concern about this guy. If he doesn't get this Canelo fight quick, he's gonna grow out of the division. And I just hate to see him end up like Errol Spence, staying in a division way too long. That's my only concern.
Yeah,
this guy's walking around at about close to 200 pounds, 190, 200 pounds.
And I mean, listen, man, screw the Canelo fight. If he's not going to fight you, then he ain't going to fight you. Go up and fight Bivol or Better Beav or something like that, because he's big enough to fight these guys. Yeah. I really believe that. And Canelo ain't going to fight you, Canelo ain't going to fight you. Canelo's got, he could fight Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, all those little guys down there, and make money that way rather than fight David Benavidez. And don't get me wrong, I want to see Canelo versus David Benavidez. I think that's a fight that should happen. But, listen, man, if a guy doesn't want to fight, you can't force him. That's just the way it is. Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about, actually, before we go to the news and rumors here, let's bring Robert on the phone here. We got a couple calls here. 530, you're live.
Hello, guys.
Hey, Robert, what's up?
Hello, guys. Not much. I couldn't agree with you guys more on your points about Stevenson. I could not believe that performance. Now, in his previous fights, he'd been showing more power. He'd been knocking people out. So I wonder why he reverted back to what he used to do.
Robbie, can I tell you something? Stevenson reminds me of you a little bit.
Yeah.
Stop it.
And I'll explain. I'll explain why. Every Sunday you come in here and you call and you act all tough to me and you give me a lot of stick. And then every Monday morning you call me.
Does he write the script every week, Eric?
See what I'm saying? See the disrespect he gives me? So every Sunday he calls in, right? And sticks it to me, right?
I'm talking boxing and he's gonna go off on some tangent.
And then you know what happens? Every Monday morning, you know what he does? Beav, I just want to apologize for the way it came off on when I called in on the show. See, that's how like he acts tough on the show, but in real life he's really not. But go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Robert.
Oh, come on. No, I don't act tough on the show. But no, seriously, guys, in his previous fights, I don't know if it's the weight game, because remember he had one fight at 135 and he knocked the guy out in 6 rounds. But even before that, when he was still at 130, he was actually showing that he was capable of getting guys out of there. So why did he go back to what he did in his 126 days or his early 130 days, where he would just, pick up a point victory? I mean, he acted completely scared of this guy, and I don't understand it.
Like I said, man, I don't know. But we've seen him fight this way before, like a number of times.
Yes, I know. But
so this shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you, Eric. And you guys were saying, well, what is Top Rank going to do? Well, his contract comes to an end. He only has one more fight with them, and then they can as soon as he has one more fight with them, they can let him go if they wish.
Right.
But I don't ever see him being involved in a major pay-per-view. I don't ever see him being involved in a big fight, because if you're Regis Prograis, if you're Devin Haney, if you're Jack Catterall, if you're if you're anybody worthwhile at 135, are you actually going to want to step in the ring with this guy? Unless you get paid a significant amount of money, And then if you get paid a significant amount of money, your promoter is going to have to stick it on pay-per-view, and nobody will buy it because of the way this guy fights.
There you go. There you go. What did you think about ESPN doing the card at like 11 o'clock, on a Thursday?
Okay. You were asking why it was on a Thursday. Las Vegas had that Formula One race this weekend, where the Formula One track was a part of the Las Vegas Strip. So what they did is they basically shut down the city on Saturday night so they could hold the race at 10 o'clock at night, Vegas time.
Gotcha.
And so they told all the boxing promoters that we're going to have fights that weekend. If you're going to do them, you have to do them before Saturday because we're going to completely close down the Strip. So that's why it was on a Thursday night. But Eric, boxing has always had a bad problem with timing.
Yeah.
They'll start their undercards reasonably at a good hour, but for those people on the East Coast, by the time the main event comes around, it's 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. That's why I like that's why I love the UK fights. They're in the middle of the afternoon. They're never too late. People can enjoy them. That's why I like the Saudi Arabia fights for the same reason. People here in the U.S., they have not figured out a good time to actually start fight cards. Like next week, the pay-per-view is going to be at 8 o'clock. It's going to start at 8 o'clock. But by the time David Benavidez and Andrade hit the ring, it'll be midnight. So, they need to figure out a way to start fight cards earlier and have the main events earlier in the evening. But I don't know how you do that, because boxing has always done this for as long as I've been following the sport. They have always had difficulty starting main events really, really late.
Right.
And if they'd learned to start them earlier, people might actually enjoy them better.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Robert, we're going to get running. Who do you like, Andrade or Benavidez?
I like David Benavidez, and I think it'll be a stoppage in like the 10th round.
Wow, okay. Wow, so we got 2 stoppages here. All right, Robert, I'm going to put you on hold here. 410, Baltimore, you're live.
What's happening?
What's happening, Jerry?
What's up? Well, let me first get started by congratulating the Ravens for putting the bungholes in the dumpster.
Man, I tell you what, Joe Burrow got hurt. We were dealing with a bunch of injuries there, and now he's gone for the year, man.
It's over.
Yeah, I think so
last
too.
Place, winless in his division.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Ravens look good though, 8-2.
What do you
Can't
call
beat
them?
that.
City of champions. Is that what you call them?
Hey, we give everybody a chance here, man. Hey, we got to give other people. We can't always title town, man. We got CJ Stroud from Ohio State, MVP candidate. Ohio State going to win the national title. I mean, we got plenty of stuff to cheer about over here.
Okay, well, it's not the Bengals this year, but anyway, Shakur Stevenson. That's all anyone is talking about. That fight gave me depression, man. Straight up. That kid, he's fought like that before. I've seen him fight like that before, and he got criticized, but this was the worst. And this was the worst of the worst. He's talking about that he's fighting Lomachenko in that last fight of his deal. Man, please. He ain't going to get none of those fights, man. Hey, you ask yourself, if you've seen that, would you fight him? If you're Tank Davis or any of those guys, there's no fighting a guy like that one. You're going to jump 4 feet out of range. Just pathetic, man. Pathetic. Hurtful for boxing, really, because this guy is supposedly a 3-time world champion. That's another thing. In this 4-bout era, everybody's a 2-3-time world champion. It's just bullshit. I think Rolly Romero is a 2-time world champion. It's just junk, man. And he hurt himself badly. His stock has just plummeted. I've been looking around on YouTube and everything, since that fight, and it's all anyone's talking about. I mean, that's maybe the worst non-performance, and it's coming off the heels, you guys know, of Jermell Charlo turning in a very similar performance, against Canelo. This shit's bad for boxing with all the problems boxing has, right? And here you got a Thursday night card. I like that. That's cool. I think to have that once in a while. ESPN's a big format, even just generally speaking. So people are going to see that fight. And man, what a junk ass performance that was. Let me move on to Benavidez and Andrade. Andrade, I've consistently been impressed with him. I keep hearing Sean Porter and some of the fighters say this guy is so good. I see him fight. I'm like, what's so great about this guy? Seems like a cool dude and everything when you hear him interviewed, but in the ring, he just underwhelms time and time again. I watched him fight Selecki, and in that fight, he was more aggressive. And he was sitting down on punches and throwing punches from wild angles. It's not as though he doesn't have talent. He's got the tools to beat Benavidez, in my opinion. Problem is, he seems to lack the mentality. And I agree with Beeb that although I don't think he's going to get a stoppage, Benavidez, I'm picking Benavidez to win in a fight that looks a lot like the Plant fight, where Andrade will probably have some success early, but by the 4th, 5th round, he's going to go to the shop, get out the bike, and he's going to try to pot shot his way to victory. And I think he goes the distance simply because I think he's going to run. He's going to run and do what Shakur did, jump out of position. He's going to do everything he can to avoid battle, and then he'll try to pot shot his way to victory and claim that he boxed, beautifully, unless he shows up like he did against Selecki, and it's that Andrade. If it's that one, he has a better chance because Benavidez does get hit. His defense is to take the shots and then just keep coming. And Andrade, as we pointed out, I mean, this is really his one chance. He spent his whole career, he hasn't gotten any big fights. Yep. A few times he got close to some reasonably competitive fights and he backed out. So this is it. He's going to have to bring everything he's got in this fight, and if he does, it'll be a good fight. But I suspect he's going to do the former, and he's going to run.
That's a great point. I mean, you're right. It's do or die for him right now because there's been a couple of big fights that he's backed out of, and you're right, man. This is do or die for him. This is the biggest fight he's going to get. If he wins it, he'll get bigger. But if he doesn't win this fight, man, that's it. What else you got? You fought all this time. You've been here. This is make or break. Yep, that's it. Make or break. Absolutely.
Yep. And so with that, I wanna kind of suspect that he will do that. He's got to know that. Hell, if we know it, I'm sure he knows it. He didn't seem to want to fight Janabek. And he jumped out of the fire over there where he was getting good money from what I could see, considering who he was fighting. He didn't want to fight Janabek. He goes over to PBC where you know how inactive they keep the fighters. And since then, they've lost their network. And now he's in real tough. He jumped out of the fire into the frying pan.
Yeah.
And he's in real tough. But like I say, if he's athletic enough to pull it off. But he's going to have to stand and fight in the pocket at times. And you just wonder if he'd be willing to do that. So, I've been a little up in the air about even buying this card because he's not a pay-per-view fighter. Now, Benavidez is coming to fight every time, that. But I think off the strength of the co-main event, I might buy that, and I'm picking his brother to pull the upset in that fight.
I don't hate it.
Charlo's been he's been out too long, man. 2.5 years out.
That's a long time.
And I got news for you. Benavidez, if you look at his fight against Crawford, man, he gave Crawford fits at times. He came 10 seconds from going the distance. He's a pretty good fighter. I like the move up in weight because to me, he was too small. Welterweight was too small for him. He was kind of beating the scale down, just like his brother does. He fights a lot like his brother, and he was, beating the scale down. But I think at 160, he's going to be strong, man. And that coupled with the inactivity, and Charlo's been out for all the wrong reasons, too. It's not like he got injured and then he had a couple of fights fall out.
Right.
He's been out for all the wrong reasons.
Yep.
So I'm picking an upset there.
There you go. All right, Jerry, we're going to get running, man. Thanks so much for
Anyway.
the call. Let's see here. What's going
All
on? 805 California. You're live.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, what's happening, man?
Nothing much. Just real quick, I don't want to talk too long about it because everybody's just kind of beating the dead horse that is Shakur Stevenson.
Right.
I'm sorry, that is the absolute most putrid performance I've ever seen by a guy who says he's a superstar. I have a hard time believing all the excuses he made after the fight about, oh, my left hand was injured. Oh, I was feeling sick.
Well, Aram said it was his shoulder.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, Aram said it was his shoulder. So he's got about 50 different injuries.
His hand.
Yeah,
he's got about 50 different things he's claiming. But the thing that really makes me upset is before the fight even happened, he's in the locker room joking and laughing and taking pictures with Floyd Mayweather and Andre Ward. Like, come on, man. Like, don't give me some BS for that garbage performance you put up and then expect us to believe whatever you tell us is what really happened. Let's just face it, you choked.
Come on, Nacho. He's from Brick City, though. He's from Brick City, though, Nacho.
He doesn't fight like he's from Brick City.
He's a street dude. He's a street dude, Nacho.
Sure.
He's like Robbie, a fake gangster.
A fake gangster.
Yeah, he's an internet gangster, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
do you think Top Rank hangs on to him?
Awful. I think Eric. Honestly, I think Aram and DeBuff have to have a serious conversation with him from the standpoint of they've been reporting he's getting like $3 million every time he fights.
Yeah,
that's the only reason why he only fights. He only fights twice a year. So at this point, if the kid's only going to fight twice a year moving forward, he's not going to get layups moving forward. You have to put him in there against guys that are actually going to make some money for Top Rank. And if he decides that he's not going to fight, he's not going to fight tough competition and he wants big money for soft touches, then they're going to have to really think about whether or not he's worth keeping around. Yeah. That's just the way I look at it. I don't think you overpay this guy if he's not going to fight the best guys out there. And just really quick, De Los Santos deserved a better fate than that. I feel bad for that guy. He went out there. He tried to make it a fight. I thought he was aggressive and going after Stevenson. And the fact that he got royally screwed the way he did, it's just completely unfair to him. I hope that he gets a legitimate title shot against someone else at some point because he deserved a better fate than that. He proved that he belonged at the elite level, and that performance should not be, you shouldn't penalize him for the fact that Stevenson decided to put up a crappy performance.
Did you score it? Did you score it, Nacho?
Yesterday,
yeah, did you score that fight, Nacho?
Did you score that fight?
Yeah, I did. I scored the fight 15-13 for De Los Santos, dude.
See?
Wow.
That fight was close. Could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I thought, like I said, man.
I mean,
I knew it was a closer fight, but for me anyway, I thought Shakur won it. I thought Shakur did enough.
I thought Shakur won it.
I thought Shakur did enough. Yeah, I thought Shakur did enough for sure.
But a lot of people had it. A lot of people had it close, man. A lot of people that scored it had it 7-5.
It shouldn't have been that close.
Yeah.
But the reason it was that close because there wasn't a lot of action in it. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of action, so it's gonna be. You know what I mean? So that's why it's gonna be that close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just tough. And then Navarrete, I mean, he put up a performance, and I don't know, Conceicao, he took a beating in that fight. So I'm just curious, like, are they really going to think about giving him a rematch considering the pounding he took in that fight? I mean, is he really going to be up for a rematch in that fight?
Why not? I thought he might have won the fight.
I thought he won the fight, Nacho. I had him winning 8. I mean,
he took some shots. Yeah, he took some shots and went down a few times. But again, like
I had him winning eight
was
rounds to
outboxing.
4.
Yeah, Eric, but the last few rounds of that fight, I mean, if you go back and watch it, Navarrete was pounding on him and had him walking around like a drunk staggering out of a bar.
Whoa!
So he barely made it to the finish line.
But he won the last round.
He didn't exactly stand up to everything. Huh?
He won the last round, Notch.
Yeah, Beeb. Yeah, he won the last round, but go back and look at 9, 10, and 11, Beeb. He had him stumbling around like he didn't know where he was at.
All right, let me
barely made it back to his corner.
Let me pull up my scorecard because I know you like to sensationalize things. I gave Navarrete.
Come on, Beeb.
I gave Navarrete rounds 4, 7, 10, and 11. Right? And I gave Conceicao round 12. So I don't know, man. I agree. 10 and 11.
I don't know, Beeb.
What did you give Navarrete? Let me find out.
12-0.
Beeb, I had him winning that fight.
What was
I had him winning that fight 114, 112.
You had Navarrete winning. That's fairly close, though,
that's
right?
That's fair, Nacho.
It is.
That's fairly close. So you can't really argue the other way,
Nacho,
right?
you had it even in rounds, Nacho.
But
you
had it even in rounds. You had it even in rounds.
Beeb,
I had it 8-4. You had
Beeb
it
scoring it 8-4. It wasn't that lopsided for Conceicao.
You had it.
Come on, Beeb.
Come on, Nacho.
Really?
Come on, Nacho.
Beeb, he did not win that fight. He didn't win 8 rounds. I'm sorry. I watched that fight twice. He did not. There's no way he won 8 rounds.
Let me find out. You have a Navarrete T-shirt on right now.
Oh, stop it.
Let me find out that's.
No, I do not,
Come
sir.
Beeb,
stop, Beeb. I just wanted to bring up. You guys brought up Pacheco. That kid's a really good developing prospect. I mean, the fight last night. I can't even say. How do you say the guy's name he fought? Conceicao? Conceicao? Or I don't know.
Who are you talking about?
Caceres.
Navarrete? Caceres. Pacheco and Caceres.
Nacho, you speak Spanish. You can't pronounce these names.
Yeah, Pacheco. Well, I couldn't pronounce his name. I can pronounce Pacheco, but I couldn't pronounce the other one, Caceres. Caceres just, he's known as the guy who went, rounds with Billy Joe Saunders and Berlanga, and Pacheco knocked him out. But I'm still not. I don't think he's ready yet to compete against the elite at 168.
Why not put him in there with Berlanga? Why not put him in there with Berlanga or something? What's wrong with that?
I
wouldn't mind that fight at all.
I like that fight a lot.
To me, Berlanga is not elite. Berlanga is not
what about him versus Munguia?
Pounder.
What about him versus Munguia? Too soon?
I think I wouldn't mind the fight, but to be honest, I've had an issue with the people who are running Munguia's career lately. It seems like they've gone out of their way to put up a bunch of roadblocks when Jaime wants certain fighters, and then his co-promoter Zanfer's over here interfering and not allowing him to take these fights.
You know why? Because he's not that good. He's not that good. I'm telling you guys.
I mean,
Munguia is not that good.
If he's not that good, then you should, you've already made a lot of money off the kid. I mean, you're over here selling out, arenas every time he goes. Like his last fight against Deverenchenko, he sold a lot of tickets. So it's not like he's not making money for them.
I like
if
watching
he's not
him
that
fight.
good, then
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. He is an entertaining fighter.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, him not being in the upper echelon of the division, you know what I mean, or the upper echelon of champions, doesn't mean he's not an entertaining fighter. He's not a bad fighter.
No.
Arturo Gatti was the same way. Very entertaining fighter.
No, you're right.
Watch him over and over, All right, Nacho, we're going to get running here. So let's talk about the news now, Beeb. The WBC, Beeb, our favorite organization. The WBC had their annual retreat today, their convention, their annual convention. And I think it was in Uzbekistan, I guess it was. And the entire week, So the WBC had some developments come out of there. They announced at the annual convention in Uzbekistan that it will suspend cooperation with BoxRec, the official boxing records keeper. Yeah.
Ooh.
Which the WBC has supported these guys for more than a decade.
Oh, Jesus.
So okay, let me explain this to you now. They're not going to cooperate with BoxRec. Okay, well, that sucks. I think that really sucks. But it's not going to stop BoxRec from operating. That's number one. Number two, do you know why they're suspending this? Because of the Bridgerweight division. The Bridgerweight division, which is a horrible idea from the get-go. What is it, 205 or something like that? Or 200?
No, 225.
Who cares? 225?
How many active Bridgerweight fighters? How many active Bridgerweight fighters are there in the sport of boxing right now where you can even do the ratings? How many fighters, how many registered fighters could BoxRec even post on the site? Well, they can have
right?
They can have a
Bridgerweight. For Bridgerweight.
How many Bridgerweights are there in the world right now? Like 10?
I don't know. But I think you and I could strap up and go for the Bridgerweight title. I think we could. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
It's like a women's division now.
That's right.
There's nobody there. Nobody cares about Bridgerweight.
Like a women's division.
G Funky wants you to do the Scott Hall of fingers. The Scott Hall.
Ooh.
Ooh. But really, you're suspended because of the Bridgerweight. But besides, nobody else recognizes Bridgerweight. You're not going to see a pay-per-view Bridgerweight title anytime soon. Trust me.
No, you're not.
Could you answer me this? And we do this every week, week in and week out. This is what listen. We're always looking at news. I mean, it's part of our day. Even if Beeb and I didn't do this, okay, we'd still look up boxing stuff. You know what I mean?
I have a boxing news app on my phone. I'm constantly looking. Looking at it.
Constantly looking. And the frustrating part about me and Beeb is that rarely can either one of us give each other news, because every time I give Beeb news, he has it, and 9 times out of 10, I have the news if he gives it to me. So, Beeb, could you name a Bridgerweight champion?
No.
No, me neither.
You know what's amazing? You know what's amazing? Badu Jack literally vacated his cruiserweight title because he wants to go for a Bridgerweight title, the WBC Bridgerweight title.
Wow.
And the WBC is the only sanctioning body that has a Bridgerweight division. And the WBC was the only sanctioning body that when Amanda Serrano fought Danila Ramos, they wouldn't sanction that fight because it was 3-minute 12 rounds. Why do they always have to be the odd man out? They're the only ones that won't allow Russian fighters to fight for titles now. They're the only, they always have to be the odd person out. Why?
MAW says WBC is trying to be pioneers, but diluting the sport, yet trying to hold on to BoxRec for ransom. He's right. They're trying to be pioneers. They're not doing a great job. Again, you're diluting the sport. It's like the WBA having 50 different titles.
They've become my least favorite sanctioning body right now. Not that I like the sanctioning bodies, but out of all of them,
right. I mean, yeah. How do you rank
they've
that?
become the worst now. They've become
garbage.
the worst.
We've got garbage. We got more garbage. There you go. In a stellar WBC move that I'm sure we're all going to applaud. This is beautiful, babe. This worse than the BoxRec situation in the Bridgerweight situation. 100 times worse. The WBC, in their infinite wisdom, Beeb, has now ranked Francis Ngannou number 10 in the heavyweight division. I want you to let that sink in for a minute. Number 10, Francis Ngannou, who has 1 pro fight, boxing, and 0 wins. No matter what you thought about the Fury fight, whether you thought he won, you thought he got robbed, whatever, he's had 1 professional fight and is ranked number 10 with no wins. The WBC has got to be the worst organization, but it's really not. They're all equally bad. They really are. They're all equally bad.
But once again, they're the only ones that did it. None of the other sanctioning bodies ranked them.
That's right. The WBC currently operating like a Scooby-Doo crime syndicate. Yeah. Well, you know why? Because Tyson Fury is a WBC champion. So the other ones aren't going to rank him because they know listen, no matter what you thought of the fight with Tyson Fury, and Francis Ngannou. What Ngannou pulled off there was incredible. It was nothing less than incredible.
It was.
For him to go the distance, knock that guy down, and on many cards won the fight. On our cards, won the fight. Should have won. Should have got the win. All right.
I thought he eked it out, yeah.
But I tell you, man, you know, could you imagine Usyk in there with Ngannou, or Wilder in there, or Joshua, or any of the other top guys? Jarrell Miller, I'm not even going to mention, because that's some money just ain't worth having. You know, I mean, I don't want to put those two together. But you think about, like I said, man, you think about Ngannou and his chances against any one of those guys, or a Tyson Fury in a that's ready, that's primed up and ready.
I was going to ask you, would you pick Ngannou to win a rematch against Tyson Fury? I would not. I would not.
I wouldn't pick him to win against any heavyweight boxer.
And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm really not.
What he did was amazing. Nothing short of amazing.
Take my hat off.
Nobody has ever done what he's done.
No.
And you know, for boxers to cross over to MMA, that just doesn't happen. Because the only successful boxer was Holly Holm that crossed over to MMA. And she's been doing it for a long time.
Ray Mercer got a one-hitter quitter
against Tim Sylvia. I remember that, yeah. But it usually doesn't end up working out like that. Because look at James Toney, who's one of the best fighters on the planet.
That was horrible.
And in 20 seconds landed, was just taken down with a single leg against Couture.
That was horrible.
And he didn't know what he was doing once he got to the ground. So once you get to the ground, man, I mean, yeah. And you saw Conor do pretty good against Floyd. He did very well against Floyd, I thought. And then you see this guy do very well against, I know you think he carried him because Floyd said so. But, hey, it is what it is, man.
I saw the bet slip, man.
You saw the bet slip?
He bet on himself to knock him out in round 10. I'm telling you. Saw the bet slip.
You saw the bet slip. Stop it. Number 10, Beeb. I can't get behind that, though. Can't get behind it. Speaking of Fury and Usyk had a press conference this week. That presser, I'll tell you what, it was, the two came to meet each other in the middle and do the stare down. And of course, Tyson Fury has got to be held back or whatever, because he went and kind of try to headbutt it. But I tell you, Usyk wasn't having it. And he said, don't touch me again, because they're going to fight. I mean, he was in that mode. I think he's sick of it. I think he's sick of Fury. I think he's sick of waiting for this fight. I think he thinks it should have taken place in December. I think Usyk is irritated. I think he's ready to go. And I think that's going to be a great fight, when it happens.
I'm excited for it.
Well, February 17th, was it? February 17th?
February 17th, correct. Yeah.
There you go. Happy Valentine's Day, just a few days later, a few days earlier anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this card, this Joshua and Wilder, their press conference took place this week. I love calling it Joshua Wilder, and them two aren't even fighting each other, but those are the recognizable names on it. It's a huge fight card. This is kind of reminiscent of the Don King fight cards that he's put on back in the day, man. This is a huge, beautiful fight card, man. Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin. Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker, Dimitri Bivol versus Lyndon Arthur, and Daniel Dubois versus Jarrell Miller. Those are all good fights.
I don't have a problem with them.
I think the Dubois fight is a good one, man. I mean, him and Jarrell Miller. Tony Ayo says AJ looked irritated, that whole presser. Beeb, you had mentioned that as well. I think that Jarrell Miller was getting under his skin.
Well,
quite a bit. But Jarrell Miller, I mean, the fact that he's back in the limelight in a fight like this, but he's going to be jerking the curtain. I get that. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, man, I mean, listen, this guy had his shot and he blew it, completely blew it.
He blew it. Dude, he was going to get a $7 million payday, bro. He was going to be a millionaire, bro.
How was that guy? Was he on steroids or something? What was he on?
He was taking a lot of shit.
Because he's like 300 some odd pounds, man. What did you say? He was a functional 290 or something like that?
He's a functional 330, that guy. That guy's arms are the size of my head, and I got a big head.
Yeah, he was real ripped, let me tell you. Yeah, he looked about like 300 pounds.
You see the upper body development? His chest looks like a friggin' like a barrel.
I really wasn't peeping him out like that, but hey, you want to look at guys like that, you go ahead, man. Yeah, that's right.
You're taking this somewhere it doesn't need to go, man.
I am.
Making a physiological statement here. You want to make it sexual? Please, got kids watching this show.
Big Pharmacy Miller. So what was the deal with Anthony Joshua? Like,
in my opinion, the minute he walked out there, he had this pouting look on his face. And to me, he looked irritated because Eddie Hearn wasn't running the show. And Joshua was used to having things his own way, in my opinion. Just like this whole trainer change where he doesn't want to go back to, like when he was training with Robert Garcia, he didn't want to go to Robert Garcia's gym. Robert Garcia had to come out to the UK. Now, he was working with Derek James, and for a while he was out in Houston, but now all of a sudden he doesn't want to go back to Houston, and now he's got Ben Davidson. To me, Joshua just comes off as a guy that just wants to have things his own way, and and when things aren't going his own way, he's not happy. He's just not happy. Yeah. And it seemed like he was sitting on that at that table the whole press conference, and he was pouting. He had that little frown on his face, and he's just upset the whole time. And then, like when Wilder was getting ready to talk and stuff, and he was just like he was just on eggshells, almost as if he didn't want to talk about fighting Wilder. Like he was irritated that Dev Sani brought up about him fighting Wilder. When he brought that up, oh, you're not my promoter. That's not for you to decide. It's like Wilder's openly saying he wants to fight you, and we have not heard one peep out of Joshua's mouth saying that I want to fight Wilder.
And I don't think Joshua's scared to fight Wilder. I don't think that enters into it. I really don't. I think
his team doesn't really want him, isn't overly excited about him.
I think maybe his team is not excited. I don't think Joshua cares one way or the other. He'll fight anybody.
And if he really wants to fight, he needs to step up and tell his team he wants to fight.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. And listen, man, I don't think it's all bad that he was irritated at this press conference. I mean, he's getting ready for a fight. He should be irritated, G-Funky said, though, it's a bad matchup for Joshua. I guess speaking about Otto Wallin, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think Otto Wallin it's not a soft touch, and he's a competent fighter, but he's no Joshua. I don't think he beats Joshua, no question.
Yeah, I mean, Joshua will be favored, but I think it'll be a tough out for him. I think it's a tough out.
You think he goes to a decision?
Yeah, I don't think he stops Wallin.
Wallin's a tough guy. He's a tough guy, but I don't think
Wallin's elusive. He's crafty. He knows how to survive in there. He's a very slick southpaw. He's a good puncher. He's a good boxer. He's a good counter puncher. He's a good fighter.
I don't think he's got enough to beat AJ though. I think AJ's
AJ. I'm favoring AJ. Yeah. The odds are pretty close. They're like 3-1. They're not that wide.
Yeah. That's still a good favorite. 3-1.
I would probably bet AJ to win by decision, just like I bet him to win by decision against Jermaine Franklin. It was a good play.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm not hating. I'm not hating that Wilder Joseph Parker fight. Not hating it. I think that's a good fight.
It's a good fight too. Yeah.
I think it'll be real interesting to see how Parker handles that. Now, I think it'll be real interesting to see Wilder, after only fighting 30 seconds in a number of years, to come back and see how he works. Yeah. And if I'm Parker, I'm looking to take him to deeper water.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Dimitri Bivol and Lyndon Arthur, that's a good fight. Daniel Dubois, Jarrell Miller, that's a good fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Solid card. Who's promoting this? A Saudi guy?
Turkey Al Sheikh.
Al Sheikh, yeah. It was part of that Riyadh season, isn't it?
It's going to be part of the Riyadh season. There's 12 promoters, but I guess Frank Warren is the lead promoter involved in this. And, So, it's going to be Saudi. It's going to be the Riyadh season, correct? Yeah.
I think I would like. G-Funky says I would like to see Big Bang Zhang on this. Yeah, I would too. He's too.
Frank said he's hurt right now.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, he's injured.
There you go.
So,
when is that fight? When is this fight taking place? When is all this? December, right?
December 23rd.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's
less than 5 weeks away.
2023 has been the year of boxing, man.
People are still complaining about boxing this year.
Stop it. Just stop it, man. What else can we possibly get?
I don't get it, bro. I just don't get it.
I'm curious to see where PBC shakes out on all this. Because their home is going away. And they knew from a very early, I would imagine since the beginning of this year, that they had to find another place to fall.
And Turki Al-Sheikh got up at the beginning of the press conference and he made a speech, and he said, "Next year we're hoping to make Wilder versus Joshua, and we're also hoping to make Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev."
That's the fight everybody wants to see. This is what they need because he can throw money at it.
So if you're going to get those 2 fights, right?
Yep.
Plus the undisputed fight with Fury and Usyk, those 3 fights alone, that's a great start.
Yeah,
that's a great start.
Hey, I tell you what, man, I don't care where it lands as long as it lands. I don't care if it's in the U.S., wherever. Listen, they want to have the fights over there. Great. Who cares? I don't care where the fights take place. Just let them happen.
I think the Zone had a bad start to the year, but there's a couple decent fights coming down the pike.
Now, is this going to be on the Zone?
They haven't announced the broadcasting for this yet, but
because Frank Warren, this could land on ESPN.
What I'm suspecting is we're going to have to buy it on ESPN Plus, and I'm guessing the people over in the UK will probably be watching it on TNT Sports, and I think the Zone will probably get everyone else except for the UK. They'll get the international broadcast. Who's
got the WWE now? Who's got them? Because they do a lot of shows in
Endeavor. Endeavor does.
That's right. UFC. Yeah,
and UFC. They own the both of them.
I don't think it lands on the UFC network. I just don't. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know. And again, man, like the Zone's cut out of this, probably, maybe, but where does PBC go from here? And I tell you what, if you're any one of them dudes, you got to be wondering about that. Because I've heard nothing on it. I mean, I've heard crickets. I've heard people talk about maybe they go to Amazon or something, but nothing concrete. No talk, no nothing. So yeah, man, it's not good. Not good.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, guys. That'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1 and find our YouTube channel at ringsidereporterlive.com. You can find me on Twitter at ringside73, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great Thanksgiving and good holiday, and be safe.